So yeah, normally I'd cut that out, but as you could still hear, I've got still got a chest infection. I've still got the flu, still sick, still under the weather. It's been 2 weeks now, and I can't shake this flaming thing. But at least my voice is back. My throat seems to be okay. Yeah, that was part of the reason why there weren't very many videos last week. And also, I was working 4 days in a row. I was out and on the road, and not getting back home till the small hours of the morning. 4 days in a row. So by the time Saturday came around, I was absolutely shattered, absolutely exhausted. So yeah, I spent the entire weekend trying to shake this flu, and also get over the fact I was working a lot last week. Last week, as I say, I was just exhausted, so I spent the weekend in bed instead of making videos. But I'm gonna try and make it up to you, because you can hear the voice is coming back. So yeah, this is the AMX 5120 Ace Tanker. So let's go. Hi folks, and welcome to the Ace Tanker for the AMX 5120, the Tier 9 French heavy tank. Although when this tank was first designed in the early 1950s, 1951, 1952, it was originally a medium tank designed to basically go at 65 kilometers an hour. But during the design phase, it was renamed as a heavy tank because it just got too heavy, and then it was eventually renamed as the main battle tank for France. But even though it was given the name main battle tank, it never made it past prototype. Only 6 were ever built throughout the 1950s, and it's not as if there were 6 prototypes of the same tank. All 6 prototypes differed from each other, with different design features on each of the tanks. Basically, the history begins in the 1945, at the end of World War II, when the new premium tank we have in the game, the AMX M4 45 MLE, or whatever you call it, that was introduced in, that was designed, and it was designed based on the Tiger II. Now, when I was driving that tank in the first impressions video about a month or two ago, I said it was basically like driving a German heavy. Basically, you angle, you keep your front towards the enemy, try and stay safe. And it was just like playing a German tank, and that's not surprising because it was based on the Tiger II. Well, they took that AMX M4 and they updated it. They upgraded it. They gave it 100mm, and then they just started the AMX 50 project in the early 1950s. So it was designed to be a medium tank that could go up to 65 kilometers an hour, but due to the advancing technology of Russian tanks, they felt that the tank wasn't good enough, so it underwent some major changes. First of all, even though the tank was designed to go at 65 kilometers an hour and it was designed to have a 1200 horsepower Maybach engine, it just never happened. The engine wasn't good enough to get it up to those speeds, and as I say, in order to combat Soviet armor, the armor had to be improved on the AMX 50, so they up-armored the tank, and that meant instead of weighing about 50 tons, it weighed 59 tons, which put a lot of strain on the engine, and it caused a lot of reliability issues. Not only that, but by the time at the time they were looking at 100mm guns, they decided that the 100mm gun wasn't good enough to take on tanks like the IS-3. So they decided to arm this tank with a 120mm. Now, the 120mm had some problems as well, because the 120mm was far too heavy for the oscillating turret, which meant that the turret had to be enlarged and it had to have additional armor, and that meant that the weight of the tank increased even further. So originally it was around about 50 tons, and then it increased to 59 tons with additional hull armor, and then it increased to, I believe, about 70 something tons with the huge turret that was added for the 120mm gun. And that led to suspension issues, it led to more reliability issues, and they basically messed around with 6 different prototypes of this tank, either increasing the armor, reducing the armor. They added a pike nose to try and copy the IS-3 design, but in the end, by the late 1950s, basically they couldn't come up with a workable tank. The tank wasn't reliable, it couldn't get up to the 65 kilometers an hour it was promised. The engine was supposed to be 1200 horsepower, but the most it could get out of the engine was about 1000 horsepower, and even then it kept on breaking down. So In the end, only 6 were ever built, and all 6 were quite different from each other. Smaller turrets, as I say, different hull shapes, different hull armor, different turret armor. And yeah, that project wasn't exactly a success. In fact, it was probably a big failure. But anyway, we still get the tank in-game, or at least one of the 6 prototype versions in-game in this one. But this isn't quite an AMX 5120, because this is my second game in the tank. This is actually my second game in the tank. I was playing with Sneaking Badger. You can see I'm platooned with Sneaking Badger up here over the Christmas period. And I was just in the mood for something new. So I had a look at the AMX 5120 and I didn't have anything unlocked. It was completely stock. But I could mount, if I put the enhanced suspension equipment on the tank, I could mount the 100mm gun from the AMX 5100, the Tier 8 Heavy. And, you know, I like the Tier 8 Heavy. I think the gun is good enough. The Tier 8 Heavy sees Tier 10s, and I found the gun good enough. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to stick the 100mm on it and basically play this thing like a Tier 8 Heavy, even though it's a Tier 9. So it's completely stock, and it's basically an AMX 5100 right now. As you can see, I'm using the 100mm gun, but I just wanted to play something new. Now, having said that, I found the 100mm gun quite good. I ended up playing a lot of games in this tank. I ground out the 120mm, and I'm playing this tank with the 120mm now. And the 120mm is much better. You get 2 shots fewer, but the 100mm is just a lot, or 120mm is a lot better than the 100mm. But that doesn't mean the 100mm is bad. But we're gonna go, and I left the countdown going because someone commented that while the countdown is up, I can show you the ammo. So I've got 232mm of penetration, 300 damage, and I'm playing the AMX 5100 because it's basically the same tank as that tank because it's completely stock with the exception of the gun. We are here on Sand River. And yeah, it's not a great matchup, Tier 10 game, and as I say, I'm basically a Tier 8 in this game, but the AMX 5100 sees Tier 10, so I didn't find it that bad a tank. And I'm just feeling this out. As I said, it's my second game in the tank, and it's completely stock. You can see that from the acceleration. I'm struggling to get above 40 kilometers an hour until I go downhill. And we're just going to move across. The plan is to head over to the 1-2 lines, and basically I'm a support tank in this matchup. Even though I'm a Tier 9, basically my armor, my gun means I'm a support tank. So I'm going to be supporting our Tier 10s. Unfortunately, 2 of our Tier 10s happen to be TDs, so they're also going to be playing the support role, so I'm going to have to get a little bit more aggressive, I reckon. And we're just moving across. It looks like our team are fairly evenly distributed. We're only sending 3 tanks north, but yeah, they're all Tier 8s. Okay, so those tanks going north, all Tier 8s, may not have a good time, but in the meantime, we're just moving down. And as I said, I've got about 230mm of penetration, so I can hit weak spots. The gun isn't particularly accurate, and the rate of fire for an autoloader isn't particularly good, but that's what French autoloaders are like. So I get spotted, TVP, T50, 51 misses a shot, and I'm moving up because all our team are hanging back, and I figure I can move up, I can get spots. The tanks behind me can basically shoot what I'm spotting, and I'm using the gun depression because the gun depression on this tank is very, very good. I'm gonna figure out, I'll put it up on screen, I don't know it offhand, but this tank got buffed, so it got increased gun depression, so that's what I'm using. So we've killed the AMX 50 or the E50, and as you can see, yeah, the first shot, if you move your turret, move your tank, the first shot is never accurate. So even though it was my last shot, I switched targets and missed by a country mile. So we're on a reload. The reload is about 33 seconds. And our tanks have moved up, so that's fine. But as I say, the enemy have sent a lot of tanks up north, so I'm already looking at the minimap. Sneaky's in trouble. He's completely being swamped in his E75 in the middle. But I've got more shots here. T32. Not much to shoot at, so... Oh, that one is a little bit lucky. Goes high, pens his turret, and we were able to take him out. So, got 4 more shots in the clip, and we're just wondering, can I empty them anywhere? Going to advance, see if I can spot anyone else. Get them within view range, within the render range. Nope. T28E5 is... Our T26E5 is well hidden. But, yep, Jagdpanzer. Now, I may be able to pen his lower glacis, I just have to hit it, and this is the only issue I have with French autoloaders. Look at the aim time. Lower glacis shot, bounces. Lower glacis shot, bounces. and that looked like a lower glacis shot that bounced, so I go for the track shot, miss, and I'm out of ammo. So not a very good second clip, but in the meantime we've lost the north of the map, we've lost the middle of the map, and I'm coming back to defend. So one of the nice things, well, one of the things you got to learn about autoloaders is use your time. When you're reloading, just don't sit there. Use your time to relocate, to get into position to do shots, so that when your clip reloads, you're ready to do damage again. So if I'd sat back where I was and waited for the reload, I'd be too late to come back and defend, but we're just using our reload time to relocate, and we're going to defend. We're on the defensive now. As I say, I'm playing as a support tank. Not much to shoot at the 140. There's another 140, and I'm hanging back. I get spotted. One object 140 bounces, but yeah, the hull armor is actually quite good on this tank. As I say, it was designed after the IS-3 pike nose, so if you're facing a French heavy from the front, usually go for the turret. The turret is a far safer bet than trying to hit the front hull, because they are surprisingly well armored. But yeah, we're gonna move up. Again, 5 shots left in the clip, and we're just seeing whether or not we can get any shots. Playing as support. IS-3, no, nothing there. Okay, so 140 is back, or no, it's 5100 on the enemy team, so essentially that's a tier 8, but I'm basically the same tank. Same engine, same gun as the AMX 5100 here. So, debating whether or not to take a shot. Okay, he's coming back. That's a blind shot that goes in. Can we finish him? We can. Okay, alright, there's kill number 3. We still have 2 shots left. And I'm wondering, do I go for a reload? Yes, I go for a reload. So I'm backing away, no point in advancing. There's Artie missing a shell just behind me, I think. But yeah, I know, I like this tank. I really do like this tank. And as I say, it's a much better tank when you have the final gun. But I think it's playable stock. As you can see, I'm playing it stock right now. And if you're in the mindset that it's basically an AMX 5100 when you get this tank unlocked for the first time, the final gun, or the 100mm is already unlocked for you. It's basically an AMX 5100, so if you did okay in that tank when you were grinding through it and it was fully upgraded, then you're going to do well in the tier 9 if you play it like the tier 8. But wondering if I can get the kill on the AMX CDC. Nope. Meanwhile, I need to help the Emil. First shot tracks with 0 damage. He's got a repair kit. Emil is obviously on a reload. I'm not going to be able to help this Emil. I'm putting shots in, but I just can't set this guy on fire. And I'm out of shots. So yeah, wasn't able to save the Emil, but we did a lot of damage to the Object 140. And once again, I want to put distance between this T-44 100 and 140 that are moving in. Our team are winning quite comfortably now, just 3 tanks on the enemy team, so I don't want these 2 guys to rush me, so while I'm on a reload, I'm just putting distance between myself and them. In the meantime, our Jagdpanzer E100 and Super Patton are moving up behind, so these guys are both one-hit kills, and I kind of screw up a little bit here because I've reloaded, I'm about to ambush, I've got all my hit points, haven't lost any hit points yet, and I go for the more dangerous tank, which is the 140, and I'm auto-aiming, and that's a mistake because now he's hull down. So we take out the T-44 100, he gets a shot into me, so he's put 2 shots into me, and the gun depression let me down there, I don't know what, but we can put a shot into his upper glacis. So yeah, lost my commander, took 3 shots there from the 140 that maybe if I'd been aiming manually instead of automatically, or with the auto aim, I could have done better. But just 1 tank left on the enemy team, I've got 1 shot left on my clip, or in my clip, and there's no point in going for a reload because more than likely he's going to be spotted. He was last spotted down in F0, but our tanks have been down there, haven't found him, so there's a good chance he's moved up to A1, A2, or up into the mountains. So I'm hedging my bets, I'm on 5 kills, I'm looking for my top gun, I've got 1 shot left, and you know, I'm going to need to roll high on Artie if Artie hasn't been hit yet, but oh, there he is, and someone just put a shot into him, and I've got a shot, and I fire without being fully aimed, and managed to nick the top gun from the, from the Object 140. Yeah, so there we go. First ace, second game in the tank, playing it as an AMX 5100, but AMX 5120, once it's fully upgraded the engine, I don't really notice that much of a difference between the final engine and the stock engine I was using in this game, but maybe it's a little bit quicker. Also, the gun is much better, the 120mm, even though you got fewer shots. The alpha is nicer. So yeah, I like the 120mm on the gun, even though I wasn't using it in this replay, but yeah, as I say, first ace ace, first ace of the tank always comes to you, and if I pick up another ace, or I'm not actually, I have no idea whether or not I've gotten any other aces in the tank with the final gun, but I might do a redo. I might revisit this tank when I pick up an ace that I remember, and show you this tank with the 120mm. But we picked up the ace, we picked up Top Gun. Wasn't an incredibly high XP total, but enough to pick up the ace with 1281, 3,825 damage done, and 6 kills. So yeah, I was quite pleased considering you know, I was just looking for something new to play that night, and decided to pick a completely new tank that I'd basically had in my garage for ages, and I decided it was playable stock, and it proved me right. So we fired 28, hit 22. So the only issue I have with French guns is their accuracy sometimes lets you down, and also the accuracy after moving your turret, after moving the hull. The first shot, the accuracy is never any good, or as soon as you move your hull or move your turret, the first shot never seems to be any good. But yeah, it performed reasonably well. 22 hits, 16 pens. As I say, decent damage. We got 1,450 assistance damage, and most of the damage was done from a distance of 300 meters or more, so we were playing really as a support tank. 18,000 credits with a premium account, and it wasn't my first game of the day. As I said, it was actually my second game in the tank, so as long as my voice holds up, I'm going to keep on recording. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.